welcome our August gathering today, let me take a few minutes humbly to inform you that Dr. J.L. Gupta happens to be the chief architect of this program, along with, of course, Professor S.P. Agarwal and Professor Madhuvich. Presently, Dr. J.L. Gupta is a member of the Finance Committee, University of Delhi, and a former member of the Executive Council, where he served two terms tenure, proving his mettle and fighting for the just cause for teachers as well as non-teaching staff and students. He is the crusader of, I would say, the rights of everyone, all stakeholders in the university. Dr. Gupta's energy and zeal for work, his enthusiasm and enterprise in striving to do better each time with every task that he takes up is undaunting and worth emulating, I would say. He's constantly on the lookout for new ideas to be implemented in the realm of education. We call him the youngest member of our group who can put a 20-year-old to shame. And I must say, this is my old cliche line, but I cannot resist again repeating it that, sir, definitely all the models who have done for Dabur, Chyawanprash have failed. I think Dr. Jawaharlal Gupta takes credit for his energy, his youthfulness in taking every step that he does towards perfection. Thank you, sir, for guiding us and mentoring us. Now I request you to kindly welcome our August gathering.
Dr. Rekha Diyar, for kind words. You have always been generous towards me in complimenting. Good afternoon to one and all. It gives me immense pleasure to be in the midst of a galaxy of distinguished guests sitting in this August house on virtual platform. Professor Ayam Pandey, chief guest of this session, likely to join very soon. He is the ex-dean, Faculty of Commerce and Business, University of Delhi, and also Dean, Ayam, Ahmedabad. Besides this, we have got the special guest, Professor Anjali Gupta ji. Now, he's former Vice Chancellor of Guru Ghasiram University. Besides this, he has been the former principal of Shriram College of Commerce, prestigious college in India. Now, then we have got a guest of honor, Alok Chakrawal, Vice Chancellor of Guru Ghasiram University, Professor S.P. Agarwal, Professor Madhuvich, Professor Rekha Diyal, members of the organizing committee, participants from all over the country. I welcome you all to this inaugural function of 2 weeks refresher course on new paradigms in commerce and management. This is a program which is being organized by Teaching Learning Center of Ramanujan College in association with Indian Accounting Association NCR chapter. We all know commerce and management is witnessing a sea change. The principal objective of this refresher course is the professional development of faculty members of institutions of commerce and management education. This program also intends to provide rigorous training in general management principles, pedagogical techniques, including case studies, cutting-edge research methods, and advanced topics. Some of the topics to be covered include leadership and motivation, corporate social responsibility, diversity and conflict management, performance management and risk management, stress management and emotional intelligence, communication, advertising and visual communication, credit rating system, cyber security, transformation in higher education, and so on and so on. This is a golden opportunity for the participants to learn from the masters of the subject, as each one and every faculty is a renowned faculty. And some of the eminent faculty include Professor Jawaharlal Gupta, Professor Alok Chakrawal, Professor C.P. Gupta, Professor Madhu Viz, CA Dr. Girish Ahuja, well known as Tax Guru. He is also known as Bhisham Pitama of Income Tax. Professor M.L. Singla, Mala Sinha ji, Kavita Singhania, Manoj Kohli ji, Country Head, SoftBank, S.S. Bhakar, Vice Chancellor, ITM University, Gwalior. The organizing team of the refresher course had put its concerted efforts to make this program meaningful and useful in the academic growth of the participants. This will certainly help in their promotion through the increased API score as per the UGC norms. I also take this opportunity to mention that every course organized under the aegis of Teaching Learning Center of Ramanujan College is managed strictly in pursuance to the regulations of the UGC and Ministry of Education, and this course is not the exception. Thus, this course fulfills all the conditions of regulatory bodies, namely UGC and Ministry of Education. Finally, I wish all the participants a big success. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rekha ji. Over to Rekha ji.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jail Gupta, sir. I also take this opportunity. It is a proud moment for me to felicitate our luminaries for the inaugural today. It is an honor to have Professor Ayam Pandey with us this afternoon as the chief guest, who is the former Dean Ayam Ahmedabad and has been a former Professor Department of Commerce, Dean School of Management, AIT Thailand. We are equally fortunate to have Professor Jawaharlal Gupta, former Vice Chancellor, Guru Ghasiram University, which is a central university now, Bilaspur, former Principal Sri Ram College of Commerce, and presently Professor MDI. We are equally fortunate to have Professor Alok Chakrawal, Vice Chancellor, Guru Ghasiram University, Bilaspur, Chhattisgarh. I am sure the participants will have a lot of takeaways today from each one of us, as there is a lot in terms of learning from your experience and the knowledge and education which you have been imparting in the years to come. We are also very happy to have with us Professor Madhu Viz, who is the chief planner for this program, former professor, FMS, and former director, Women's Studies Center, University of Delhi. We welcome all the participants and everybody present here today for this ceremony. Now it is my proud privilege to ask our dynamic principal of Ramanujan College, Professor S.P. Agarwal, to address the gathering. Professor S.P. Agarwal is an alum of University of Delhi. He did his graduation and post-graduation from the University of Delhi and completed his PhD from United States of America, getting accolades for it. His smiling countenance is a balm to the frayed nerves that we always show, and his motivation and leadership has definitely pushed the teaching and non-teaching staff at Ramanujan College to spread their wings far and wide and soar in the sky. A great leader, an ace scholar, astute administrator, and above all, a wonderful human being who's a friend for all. Professor S.P. Agarwal, sir.
Thank you, Rekha ji. As always, you are very kind to all of us. Thank you very much. Good afternoon and welcome to all the dignitaries who are with us in this 2-week refresher course on commerce and management. Our chief guest, none other than Professor Aia Pandey, who is a wizard in finance. Professor Jawaharlal Gupta, another stalwart in management and commerce and most of the discipline. And another stalwart, Professor Alok Kumar Chakrawal, who is present, Vice Chancellor at Guru Ghasidas Central University. Earlier, it was a state university when Professor Jawaharlal Gupta was the Vice Chancellor. Our own Professor Madhu Viz, who is basically the brain behind this program. My guru and mentor, Dr. Jail Gupta, my senior colleague, Dr. Rekha Dayal, Dr. Anjali, my own colleague, Dr. Rajiv and Dr. Anshika, other colleagues who are, associated with this program, and all the dear participants who have always faith in us and join in large numbers. I believe more than 200 participants have joined this program. Friends, I will not speak much because most of our learned colleagues are here. They will speak to you about the subject, but briefly I can introduce the college and our mission under which we are doing this program. Ramanujan College basically is a Delhi University maintained institution, 100% funded by UGC, and we are running about 15 honors courses, and mainly our focus is in mathematical sciences, commerce, management, humanities, and social sciences. We are not a science institution. We have about 150 faculty members, 3,000 students, and 10 advanced centers of research. And we are also publishing 2 in-house research journals. One is a UGC care listed journal in business and research, and another journal in ethics and application of ethics journal. I think Professor Johari Lal would be very keen to see that journal. Another important aspect which we always look into in this college is on skill orientation. We are also running 2 skill-oriented courses, which is known as BWalk in the area of software development and banking, that we do it under UGC scheme of Deen Dayal Upadhyay Kaushal Kendra. And this scheme of Pandit Madan Mahal Malvi, mission for teachers and teaching, basically is a scheme of Ministry of Education, which we got in 2017. This is a mission to train or capacity building of teachers. And under this mission and vision of our, Ramanujan College, we have trained almost more than 120,000 teachers in last 1.5 years of lockdown, and before that in the physical mode about 3,000 teachers, because you can understand that in physical mode we cannot take more than 20-30 teachers at a time. So this has been a blessing in disguise, but the programs are all quality programs, and these programs are not only discipline based but research based, ICT based, MOOCs based, and application based, and also in various IT tools. So, and teachers has been joining these programs not only for their promotion, but for other benefits, because we are very meticulous in organizing, and the learning outcomes are excellent. And we are also in the process of doing a study on this, that how much the institutions and individuals are benefited with these programs. Now, about the topic, the new paradigm of commerce and management. Well, friends, basically, let me tell you that if we look at the new or the National Education Policy 2020, which talks of, main plank is the flexibility, interdisciplinarity, entrepreneurship, sustainable development, and sustainable ecosystem. Now, if we look at these parameters, I think, the professionals from commerce, management, business are in are very important. Now, why I'm saying so? Because the important thing is that most of the time we are very narrow in our disciplines. Like we started with commerce, then we started with management, then we started with finance, then accounting, and then made so many disciplines within the university, within the departments. And we have, kind of compromised the interdisciplinarity. And still I see that I have 2 departments, commerce and management, always fighting with each other rather than complementing each other. So this thing has to be taken care of, that unless until we talk to each other, we do research together, we learn from each other, the interdisciplinarity cannot be achieved. Because commerce, management, business, all these are interrelated disciplines, rather one discipline. If you if I am the head of any institution, or if I have to do something, I will make one school of business or one school of management, and everything should be under it, as is in Europe and United States. So that people can interact, people can do meaningful research, people can talk about the new things which are coming up in those areas. Like today, the another important area is the business analytics. And I'm sure that some universities or some IITs or IIMs will create a department of business analytics, which is again unfortunate. It is part of the whole paradigm which we are doing today. Similarly, when we talk of statistics, mathematics, all these are part of our commerce and management. Now, basically, of course, they can be a separate discipline in these areas, but we need to do meaningful research by interacting and by involving these people. Why I'm saying so, I can give you an example. Recently, the Journal of Business and Research, which we are managing, which is a UGC care list journal, were being done by commerce people. But now I have made it, interdisciplinary, in the sense I have involved a faculty from statistics, from computer science and management. And I can see even in a few months, there is a drastic, change in the system. Now, the next issue which it will come, you will see how different it is from previous issues. So these kind of changes you can only see when the concept of interdisciplinarity is applied in a proper way, and people should interact rather than living in their own disciplines or creating hassles for other disciplines. This is not good. So that is all I wanted to say. Once again, thank you to Rekha ji and all our guests who have joined us in spite of their busy schedule. And I'm sure all the resource will be very, very useful for next 15 days to all the participants, and you will learn some new pedagogical techniques, new research techniques, and new tools in order to apply them in your own classes and institutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor S.P. Agarwal, sir. And I think you very rightly pointed out that instead of living in a very cocooned world, time has come that we move out of it and we join hands, collaborate. And very rightly said, commerce, business, and management, I think, should come under one roof, so that there is a huge amount of resource, and the reservoir that we can create will be beneficial, not just for the students, but also for the whole society, and in general, I would say, for the national and international community. Thank you so much for your address. Now I would call upon Professor Madhu Vij, who's a former director, Women's Study Center, University of Delhi, former professor and placement convener, FM, Faculty of Management Studies, University of Delhi. She is the chief planner of this program. Professor Madhu Vij is a rank holder right from her MCOM days to her MPhil and her PhD that she very successfully completed from the FMS. She has a vast and rich experience of more than 4 decades of teaching and administrative work. She has been on the government's committees on steel industries and has been a director in many companies. She is also on the academic council and governing bodies of many institutions, a multi-talented person, a very good human being, and a very, very dear friend. Friends and colleagues, I request now Professor Madhu Vij to inform the audience about this program.
Rekha, in fact, when you speak like this, it makes me so emotional. It takes me back to, our days at Delhi School of Economics and, the kind of life one was leading at that point of time. But thank you so much, Rekha. And let me make one correction. The effort and the program is a completely joint effort. There has been the right push, the right, I would say, knowledge creation from the advisory council, the organizing committee, from the principal of Ramanujan College, Dr. J.L. Gupta, Rekha, Anjali, and a whole lot of them. In fact, we do remember even talking to Professor Jyotirao Gupta about, what all could be included in the 2-week interdisciplinary national refresher program when we were at the very, very initial stages of that. But let me start with a very, very warm welcome to our eminent panelists for gracing the occasion. Thanks to our special guest, Professor Jyotirao Gupta, Professor Ayam Pandey, who is our chief guest, and Professor Alok Kumar Chakrawal, who's our guest of honor. In fact, I was listening to the conversation, and it's a pleasure knowing you, Professor Chakravarti, today. I'm honored, honestly, to be a part of this enriching management program. In fact, start from its inception. It was like, going into the details and trying to ensure that, as Professor Agarwal said, to make this program as far as possible cross-disciplinary and interfunctional. Thank you to everyone who have made this refresher course possible with their comments, their opinions, and their views. Our vision and mission remains to enhance and strengthen and help make knowledge accessible to all of you during these difficult times. I would say it's a privilege to address you all. And I welcome all the participants attending the program from all over India. Thanks for motivating and supporting and attending the program as always. We are truly delighted with the presence and thankful support of all the illuminaries in this inauguration. Management education in India is poised for a major transformation, especially during and after the current pandemic. Back to something nearly normal also appears a very remote possibility as of now. Work from anywhere is, I would say, the new way. Online teaching, blended learning, more global networking are all becoming acceptable modes of learning. This has also given rise to many contemporary issues and challenges in the changing time, affecting the quality of management education in the country. Through this program, our focus would be to align the new pedagogy, the subject matter, the whole process, I would say, of assessment, student access and success with appropriate technology, software, and various online strategies in the whole teaching learning process. The program, as per the UGC guidelines and the MHRD, will be delivered through a hybrid mode of learning. We have a good mix of live and recorded sessions. What was the thought initially when we planned about organizing this program? Our aim, let me say, in designing the program was to be both innovative and creative. The present interdisciplinary refresher program aims to provide a rigorous training in management concepts. We have attempted to include topics that are a part of the present ecosystem. Dr. G.L. Gupta had very rightly outlined, a lot of topics which we are going to cover through our various modules. And as was mentioned, we have also kept the new education policy in mind by adopting a cross-functional perspective. Let me just add here to what Professor Agarwal was saying. It's a fact that business problems facing organizations today are rarely unidirectional. So if the problems are not unidirectional, then how can the solution be unidirectional? So it's towards this end that we need to focus on a cross-functional thinking and on a cross-functional learning. I'll just give you a very brief flavor of the program. The all-important issue of gender is an important focus area. Companies cannot afford to lose leadership in the present scenario. With this as backdrop, we have an important session on leadership behavior, followed by stress management, winning teams, team buildings, and a lot of other, topics which were very well said by Dr. J.L. Gupta. We also have sessions on conflict management and design thinking. Again, if you look at the way management education has evolved, we find that, the focus these days is not to look at the problem, but to look at the solution. This is what is the focus of design thinking. In fact, our focus in the program is also to attend to the, I would like to put it as the physical and mental health of the participants. Keeping this as a background, we have kept some important areas in this context. Maintaining best practices around physical and mental health, let us say, is not a luxury anymore, or a frill, as we would say, but an essential aspect of today's environment in which we are all living. We also have sessions on credit rating agencies, digital and social media, research methodology, cybersecurity, and the latest one on cryptocurrency. How the banking sector is responding after COVID, that is also a part of, one of the sessions. In addition, as was mentioned, we also have a live session on e-filing of returns. Finally, to keep up with the changing scenario and the demand, the program also has an important session on the changing risk landscape. Following the global financial crisis and the current pandemic in which we are in, risk management strategies have become important, not only for CFOs, but also for auditors. In fact, this has become a high priority area for business across the globe. Companies are also trying to increase their resources, to manage the risk. And both auditors and CFOs are trying to spend a lot of time on understanding the risk landscape as it exists in today's environment. The Teaching Learning Center of Ramanujan College, in spite of the global pandemic, has launched many programs and workshops during the past 18 months. In fact, again, I'm going to repeat this, but I still remember for one of the online programs, I was talking to Professor Agarwal and I was just trying to inquire, sir, how many participants do you have for the program? And I can never forget, he says only 800. So I said, sir, I do think this is a good number, but I think, the kind of numbers they had reached at a point of time was probably 2 or 3 times this number. So I think this only speaks of the kind of knowledge which the college is trying to share through the Teaching Learning Center. And we all understand where the motivation comes from. Yes, you have a good sounding board in terms of our very own Dr. J.L. Gupta and your entire team, but kudos and special thanks to Professor Agarwal for, I would say, the showing great resilience, great agility, and very quickly, they have got onto the various, I would say, the digital platforms to organize the workshops going forward. Good luck to you, and I'm sure you need to go only miles ahead in this program. This reminds me of a saying which says, education is the most powerful weapon which you can choose to change the world. And I think that's the motto and the principle and the rule which the college is very aptly following. I thank each one of the participants for their faith in the college, in the program, and in the organizing committee. Thank you all very much, and wishing all of you a lot of success. And I'm sure you'll find the program very, very enriching. Thanks once again to the organizing committee of Teaching Learning Center, which has made this program possible. Thank you. Over to you, Rekha.
Thank you so much, Professor Madhuvich. Before I call upon Professor Jorilal, I'm very happy to inform that we are very honored to have our chief guest now with us, Professor Ayam Pandey. Sir, we welcome you amongst us. And I'm, on behalf of each one of us present here, we thank you for sparing your time to be with us. Thank you, Professor Madhuvich. I think in today's rapid changing technology, knowledge structure, I would say you have rightly hit the nail on the head that it is interdisciplinarity which is going to be the order of the day. And the sooner we adopt it, the better it would be for each one of us. I think we also thank you for taking us through what is going to unfold in the next 14 days. You have very succinctly explained to us the various sessions that we are going to hold. Thank you for the role that you have played, such a positive role. Now I have great pleasure in calling upon our special guest, Professor Jorilal Gupta sir, to address the audience. Presently, Professor Gupta is a professor of HRM at MDI Gurugram. He was the former Vice Chancellor of Guru Ghasiram University, Bilaspur, from 2004 to 2008. And sir, what a delight it was to hear Professor Alok Chakraval talk about it. If one is remembered by the present Vice Chancellor, it goes a long way. It's really proves the kind of mettle that you have and the kind of administrative acumen that you must have reflected out there. We were extremely honored and thrilled to listen to that. Professor Gupta has led the prestigious Shri Ram College of Commerce, University of Delhi, as the principal till 2004, where he initiated many new ideas and programs. I still remember, sir, a lot of programs, a lot of events that we have attended, and they were hugely successful. You are remembered not just because you were a strict disciplinarian, because that is exactly what is required of a great leader, but also for how you transformed the college during your era. Professor Gupta had earlier been a professor of National Institute of Bank Management, Pune, University of Science, Malaysia, and also Dar es Salaam University. His stint at Tanzania, and he also referred how he taught and where he taught in terms of being a lecturer at University of Allahabad. I'm sure, sir, each of these places you have left behind indelible marks of your presence. Professor Jorilal Gupta has been a consultant in the areas of organization design and structure and training, and of course, the human resource development systems for both public and private sector organizations, not only in India, but also outside the country. He has a vast experience both in teaching as well as administration. I know, sir, that you are in Dubai with your family and with, of course, a little one, yet we are extremely grateful for your august presence today as a special guest at this inaugural ceremony. And I'm sure that there would be a lot of takeaways from what you say. So I request you to kindly deliver your address. Professor Jorilal Gupta, sir.
Thank you so much, Rekha ji, for a very kind introduction. And saying that I was instrumental in bringing about some improvements in the college, I must mention here that you were a great support for me in a few things that I did there. And I must acknowledge it now since you have mentioned it. Well, chief guest of this afternoon session, Professor Pandey, guest of honor, Honorable Vice Chancellor Alok Kumar Chakrawal, Guru Ghasidas University, Dr. J.L. Gupta, Dr. Madhu Vej, and Dr. Anjali Gupta, and Principal Ramanujan College, Professor Agarwal, and friends. It's my pleasure to be associated with this program. I'm really feeling privileged and feeling very happy. Dr. Madhu Vej outlined important areas that this program is going to cover. Professor Agarwal, Principal Agarwal, he mentioned how it is linked with the educational policy of the country. In fact, the way Dr. Madhu Vej outlined the contents of the program and talked about them, there is not much, I think, that I can add, but still, being a keynote speaker, I'll try to extend some of those ideas or at least reinforce them. 10 to 15 minutes of time that I have, I'll just present a broad outline of the kind of changes which can be considered as a paradigm shift. Because a paradigm shift, is a very widely used term these days, but it refers to actually the fundamental changes in assumptions, in concepts, and values that are needed for implementing or managing that paradigm shift. It requires, I think, a great deal of mind shifts. The way, our worldview must change. The way we have been looking at things can be described as traditional, where the changes have been of such a great magnitude. Everything, even the new things, it starts looking traditional because of some quantum jump in thinking and practicing things. COVID has done it. COVID story, even now, it's very difficult to predict to the end of this story what is going to happen and what new things will emerge and how what new ways will be discovered for managing those changes. We really don't know, I think, fully yet. But there have been tremendous changes, and as I said, will require a mind shift. I am trying to share the screen for showing some slides, because in 15 minutes, if we have to cover some ground regarding the new paradigm or this shift in paradigm, I think the slides come very handy. Now, there are 4 or 5 points that I like to make. In fact, as I mentioned, that Dr. Madhu, which has outlined the program's contents in such good details, that most of the changes, which can easily be described as changes relating to the paradigm shift, are covered in this program. All those topics which are necessary to be understood, where the knowledge is necessary to be shared and absorbed and implemented, are reflected in the program design. And I must compliment the Dr. Madhu Vij and her associates who have designed this program. Now, it was Albert Einstein who once said, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. In similar vein, I think a slightly different emphasis. It was Jiddu Krishnamurti who was one mentioned that, our problems, our questions are new. And the trouble is that our responses are old. New problems cannot be solved with old solutions. old ways cannot work when the problems are new. And this pandemic, particularly, and the other changes which have taken place in the recent years, have really created a situation where we must think about the new ways of doing things. The nature of work is changing. There is a tremendous COVID impact now. The debate is going on whether the changes that we have made or have been made by different countries, different governments, different organizations, different non-government organizations, whether those changes are going to stay on. Will those changes become permanent kind of solutions to the problem that we are going to face, or will come back to the old situation? You work from home, or going to office for 2 days, 3 days, working from, like, I'm talking to you from Dubai, and the Vice Chancellor Jiju is talking from Bilaspur, and so on. Now, what will happen? Will this hybrid work become essential for work-life balance? Is it so, or is it not? 2 days in a week, will it work? Will it not work? What will be the repercussions? Meeting people in the office is advantageous in many ways. Some organizations have already been doing this. So I know for sure that IBM has been doing it. Very few people have been going to the office for so many years, and it has worked. Nobody ever thought that many other organizations will also be doing this or will be forced to do this. Now they were forced to do this before. They are thinking whether this could be a voluntary affair now on. Because not suddenly, but I think it was there. It used to be discussed in the classrooms also, in the management and commerce classes. The question of work-life balance. HRM has been very much seized with this. Work-life balance. Now used to talk about it. Now this has become a very, very burning question, very important question. I recently came across a research where it was mentioned that 1 in 3 professionals in India is burnt out due to increased workload, that is 35% more, and stress, 34% people of the total sample that they took while working remotely. It reveals in the LinkedIn Future of Work study of 2021, with professionals prioritizing their well-being and finding ways to strike the right balance, half of India's workforce believes that work-life balance, that is 52% of the people, is just as important as their salary, 52%. Well, how far these research findings are valid and they apply, I don't know, but this is what has been reported. And if it is true, then the question of maintaining a work-life balance has come to the fore now, in the forefront. And this issue of hybrid work, 2 days in a week, 3 days a week, number of hours in a week, these suddenly have become very important. And it will require a new way of looking at things, a new way of increasing the productivity or maintaining the productivity with this chain system of working. It would have very, very wide repercussions, wide impact on so many things. So this, and as I go on, this changing nature of work, you'll see, has impact on so many other areas, such as today, it was mentioned by Madhu Vij, and it is mentioned in the education policy, the idea of sustainability. This sustainability strategy will become something as important as the balance sheet of the organization. An increased focus on sustainability will become a matter of competitive advantage. Those organizations which are emphasizing adequately on sustainability will, and they have a clear-cut strategy and structure for this. What will the structure? In fact, nobody knows now. What will the best structure for this factor? But then the only thing one can say that it should be integrated with the kind of organization that you have in a manner that it is compatible with other requirements of the organization. If I can be permitted to mention that a thesis study of Peters and Waterman, which identified the 7S framework. Well, if you examine each one of those 7 ideas, you will find there is a lot of change needed and a shift has taken place. Sustainability was not a great idea at that time. Today, the climate and sustainability so in various other areas has become a matter of strategic, I'll not say, yes, strategic choice and implementation through creating a suitable structure. Now, technology is a challenge. It's a challenge. I used to talk about it even, say, 5-10 years back, that look, technology is changing so fast that the problem is not the technology itself, but the pace at which the changes are taking place. Now, technology is changing, and the way it is changing, compatible with it, some other changes have got to be made. The speed and scale have got to be thought out afresh. If I try to relate this point to the field of education, e-learning, virtual classrooms, and maximum possible utilization of the cloud will become a very important point for organizations. There's a tremendous potential. Access to information anywhere, everywhere can be ensured if the potential of the cloud is harnessed to the fullest extent. AI and machine learning are being talked about and discussed. I think I cannot overemphasize the importance of these ideas. Use of advanced analytics to personalize education will require a lot of thinking on the part of those responsible for managing education. The ideas of augmented reality, that is interactive classrooms, e-commerce, where they're talking about, customer obsession. You have to deliver things, you have to find the customer where he or she is, and then you take things to him or her there. So easy availability and access to goods and services, it will of course create other problems of being trustworthy. Trustworthiness will become another very important factor, because e-commerce success in terms of easy access, availability and access to goods and services, I think very largely depends on the degree of trust which the organization is able to create in the customer population. So transforming through technological innovation, in increasing digitization, for that matter, automation, these are the ideas which I think must receive better attention in our efforts to educate people, and also in managing organizations in different walks of life. Cultivating talent. I think this is a very important factor in this paradigm shift. There are all kinds of estimates being made today. Some say 50% of the people will require reskilling. There are many occupations which will become instinct. They will not be there, they will disappear. And new ones will take place, but it will take time. So it will create problems of various kinds. Those who remain, they need to be reskilled. Their skill needs to be upgraded. So this training and development, or reskilling and upskilling, is going to be a major change, and requisite efforts would be needed for managing this. So coaching and empowering teams, this idea of empowerment is not new, but I think a fresh look is needed, where it doesn't remain only in the books or in the speeches of the executives, but really gets translated into the ground realities. Hierarchy, I think many years back I read an article, Coming Death of Bureaucracy. That was, I think, Benis wrote that article, Coming Death of Bureaucracy. And there he said, well, bureaucracy is dying. Hierarchy is dying. Horizontal organizations will be there. tall structures are over, flat structures are in, matrix form of organization structure is in, all kinds of those things. But they were talked about. COVID hastened the process. COVID hastened that process. And this process, I think, needs to get continued. And we cannot think of a hierarchy-less organization, because organization must have some hierarchy. But then the hierarchy will not be pronounced in times to come. There a shift has taken place which can possibly not reversed in terms of the kind of people we are getting in organization, the way we are thinking of managing the talent. Obviously, greater autonomy and less of hierarchy will be required. I mentioned already about filling gaps, knowledge gaps, skill gaps. You know, it is very important to beat the challenge of increased quality. What does it mean? I think traditionally or yesterday, the customers used to be satisfied with good quality of things. But good quality is good. Then they were satisfied with somewhat better quality. Then they said this is the best quality. Now they want better of the best. There is a tremendous emphasis on increased quality, and this poses a challenge requiring, again, a very important mind shift in managing the organizational change. Well, speed and scale. Again, COVID has facilitated. We have seen how important is the speed in implementing change. And therefore, collaboration technologies will become important. People will become more of a, they'll be more in partnership rather than competition. So organizations will need to invest in collaboration technologies and manage them. There is a tremendous shift in the demand of consumption. What kind of things will get consumed more in times to come? There is a shift which anybody can see even today. So this needs to be anticipated for future management of work and organizations. Focus has got to be on the outcomes. I think things are happening that way, where the focus has become now more on outcomes. I think all said and done, a very important element will be the sensitivity element. How sensitive the management is, how sensitive are the educators who teach management are, how sensitive are the organizations who will handle e-commerce and other kinds of business activity, because sensitivity will decide whether you will opt for incremental changes or you will opt for some kind of a mind shift and resort to some quantum jump in your activities. So your thought process, your value system, your assumptions about what works, what does not work, what will not work, that needs to be understood and re-examined in the present context. When I'm talking about sensitivity and emphasizing it, I'm reminded of, I recall a small story which I came across long back while I was preparing myself on some leadership session somewhere. It was titled Sound of Silence. Some of you, I'm sure, must have heard about it or read about it, but I feel tempted to narrate it to you before I close my session, to be within the limits of time granted to me. No, there was a king, all those traditional stories always started with king and queen. So there was a king, was a good king, and he had a son. He wanted his son, the prince, to be a good king or a better king after he was not the king anymore. So he wanted to provide him the best kind of training, good upbringing, good knowledge and ways to manage the kingdom. So he invited the best teacher of his kingdom. And he said, look, please, sir, take this boy under your care. You teach him, groom him, whatever, you keep him for as long as you want, as many years as you want, because that guru, that teacher, was having his ashram in a forest nearby. So he took him under his care. He taught him so many things. He taught him humility. He taught him courage. He gave him knowledge of so many things which were helpful in managing the kingdom. And over a period of years, he thought the fellow is developing very well. And in fact, he is fit to be a king. He has developed those attributes, those traits which are so required for doing that job. So he called him. He said, look here, boy, you have been very good. You are ready. I think I should take you to your father and tell him that you are now ready to take responsibilities of the kingdom. But then before I go with you to your father, I want to do one more thing for me. And that is go to this nearby forest, which is not inhabited by any wild beast or anything. And hear as many sounds you can hear, as many as you can hear. And come back and tell me, what did you hear? Well, the disciple found it a little unusual, but then, well, he must obey him. So he went to the forest. It's a very huge forest, deep forest. He wandered around, sat under the trees, meditated, looked around, tried to hear as many things as he could hear, as many sounds as he could hear, but he couldn't hear much because that was a very simple forest and there were only a few sounds. After 3, 4, 5 days or a week, he came back to the teacher. He said, sir, I'm here. All right, tell me, what sounds did you hear? He says, sir, I have heard the sound of crickets chirp, the bees buzz, the birds sing, the leaves rustle, and the wind whimper and holler. I have heard all these sounds, sir, and there's nothing more to hear. The teacher said, all right, very good. Wonderful, but you can go again and spend some more time in the forest. Maybe you'll hear some more sounds. Maybe you will. And if you don't, then come back to me and tell me what was your experience this time. So obediently, the fellow goes back to the forest, and this time he spends a much longer time, a couple of months maybe, and he meditated under the trees and so many things. One day he felt that he has heard something, felt very happy, came back to the teacher. Mind you, it's a story. We have to draw lessons from it, whatever lessons we are able to draw. He says, sir, I'm here. Teacher said, tell me what sounds did you hear? He says, sir, I have heard the sound of birds sing, crickets chirp, the bees buzz, the leaves rustle, and the wind whimper and holler, sir. I have heard this sound. But I have heard also something more. Sir, I have heard the sound of sun warming the earth. I have heard the sound of grass drinking the morning dew, and I have heard the sound of flower blossoming. Sir, I have heard the unheard. I have heard what has not been said. Teacher was immensely happy, overjoyed. He said, my boy, you are fit to be a king. If a king has developed the capabilities and the capacities to hear the pains and miseries of people who belong to his kingdom without they verbalizing all those pains to him, he can sense it by looking at them. He's so sensitive, he's so empathetic. He can be a great king. So now I can take you to that. Now applying it to the present context here of a paradigm shift or a new change, new paradigm of commerce and management, I think the organizations will have to be sensitive, very sensitive now. Things are changing very fast, and incremental changes are not going to deliver. I said earlier, for a paradigm shift to be successfully changed, changes to be implemented very successfully, a practical, pragmatic worldview has got to be developed. Then this sensitivity has got to be increased. This sensitivity has to be high in teachers of commerce and management, how things are changing. They have to keep updated. They have to keep up to date to all that happening around the world, because things are happening with speed. So, friends, this is where I'd like to conclude my session with you, my interaction with you. Thank you very much for your patience, and thank you very much for your attention. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Very wonderful lecture, thoughtful lecture, and intellectual lecture. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Professor Jawahirlal Gupta, sir, for such an insightful, interesting, enriching, and enlightening address that you have given us. There is a lot of food for thought that you have left with us, and I'm sure each one of us is going to think and ponder over how not only COVID has impacted us, but what is there in terms of future vis-a-vis the mind shift that you have so rightly focused on and talked about. There is a rapid change that is taking place in not only technology, in not only knowledge, but also our lives. And the work life balance that you have focused on is one of the most important areas where I think the organizations and individuals have to work. Thank you so much, sir. We are looking forward to hearing from you next Sunday also for your next session, which I'm sure is going to be as interesting as exciting as this one. Thank you once again for sparing your time to be with us, sir.
My pleasure, madam. My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Now, our distinguished guest of honor is none other than Professor Alok Chakrawal, Vice Chancellor, Guru Ghasi Ram University, Bilaspur. From the time he has joined as the Vice Chancellor, he is creating a trajectory of growth and development in that university. And when I was listening to him today, just before the session, we all realized that it's an upheaval task, because he has to not only take the weeds out, but also has to plant new seeds so that new things can blossom out of this. I'm sure, sir, you're going to be very successful. Professor Chakrawal is an MCom and PhD, and his areas of specialization are management, accounting, finance, marketing, to name a few. He has a very rich experience of 29 years in higher education for teaching postgraduates as well as graduate students. Not only that, he has also dabbled in administration in institutions of higher education, also corporate administration. He has been part of the top management policy making. He has guided PhD and MPhil students, and his administrative experience is for more than almost 2 decades. He has not only been the vice chancellor, before that, he was the professor, he was also the coordinator, director, planner of many new projects in the universities. Professor Alok Chakrawal is an alumnus of Oxford University, and he was part of the LEAP program, University of Oxford. His research profile is very impressive. He has, to his credit, 20 PhD students whom he has guided, and there are more who are working with him. He has almost more than 50 MPhil students, and the number of MBA projects and the research projects that he has taken up in British Council speak volumes of his academic scholarly attributes. His publication includes books, research papers, monographs, and popular articles. He has been also on the editorial board of 7 international and national journals. He's been part of the NAC and other peer teams where he has gone on to inspect many an institution. His exposure in terms of the other countries like USA, UK, China, Thailand, Nepal has been a very enriching experience. Professor Alok Chakraval has been a visitor's nominee at Assam University. He's also been a visitor's nominee at Jamia Millia Islamia, controller of examination of Saurashtra University, Rajkot. He has been nominated by SEBI as the PR director on Saurashtra Kutch Stock Exchange Securities Limited, Rajkot. He has also been the coordinator of UGC NET and other examinations for Saurashtra University, Rajkot. He has been a member of many board of studies as well as governing bodies in different universities. Professor Alok Chakwal has received many awards and honors. He has been felicitated by the Commissioner of Higher Education, Government of Gujarat, for academic and administrative excellence. He has also been awarded the Best Paper Prize at the conference held at Florida, and also the Best Paper Award at Global Congress on Knowledge Economy in China. Professor Agarwal definitely shows a huge amount of leadership, management, as well as other skills, and is a multi-talented person. Sir, we are extremely happy to have you with us. And now I would request you to please kindly deliver your address.
Sir, I request you to please unmute, sir. Sir, it is not yet unmuted, sir. I think, sir, you can try now, sir. For some reason, you were not the co-host. Now you're the co-host. Thank you, sir.
That's fine. Now I can. Actually, I was trying to call you. So
Yes, sir, I did the name.
I was trying to, call you just to allow me to.
Thank you, sir.
The very first thing I don't know, but for what reason, but I have a lot of appreciation for Ramanujan College and Principal Sri S.P. Agarwal ji. You are organizing, such a wonderful series of events and activities. I am really touched with your kind of activities. The very first, our chief guest, Professor Ayam Pandey ji is there. I can see him. I really pay my regards to Professor Ayam Pandey ji. Professor Jorilal Gupta ji, of course, it was pleasure listening you and the kind of story you narrated. I mean, that is the way how senior teachers are, telling and teaching the most difficult aspects of life by telling you some real life or some kind of, stories. Jawaharlal Gupta ji, my elder brother, Anjali Gupta ji, Dr. Madhu ji, Rekha Dayal ji. This is a wonderful time. We are going to start 2 weeks refresher course in management and commerce, and recent advances that has been opted out. Being an academician, I have been always looking for a student whom I can teach. I cannot compare myself with Ramakrishna Paramhans, who was searching for Vivekananda. But a good teacher always looks for a good student. And I have tried to give whatever best I can give to my students. That was my approach all through my life. But in the given scenario, in the given situation, I'm sure my elders would agree with me. There is very less of teaching transaction taking place in the classroom. Teachers are more busy with several other things because of API or because of accreditation reasons or because of ranking purposes or because of so many things. And I don't know what is happening. When we started our career almost 30 years back, and if I look at my teachers who were, simply a teacher, they never thought and aspire to become anything else. They always introduce themselves as a teacher. I mean, okay, vice chancellor is an administrative designation. I'm working here for some time, but I feel that I'm a teacher. And that is the missing element I find in our higher education institutions. Teachers are dying and designations are rising. I am head of the department, I'm professor, I'm associate professor, I'm on the board of studies, I'm this and that. My biodata has been sought by organizers, that's why I send it. But I would always like to be a teacher. So if we really want to do something good to the higher education, I think we need to revive teachership among professionals who are working in the higher education. And once a teacher, comes on the platform, there is no need to refresh. Knowledge will automatically get refreshed. Knowledge will automatically be acquired by the teacher, because a teacher loves to teach the student. I mean, I always define there has to be 4 types of love. If you are a teacher, and love for yourself, that I call love thyself, love thy profession, love thy subject, and love thy pupil. These 4 loves are very important. And if you love your profession, then you will learn everything and you will do everything, whatever is needed and possible for professional execution of the profession. There are code of conducts for, doctors, lawyers, chartered accountants. And if you are defying that code of conduct, you are debarred, that you are no more teacher. We don't have any such kind of code of conduct. Anybody can be teacher. Anybody can write professor. Anybody can write anything. But teacher is the most important. Change, like, we are talking a lot that there is national education policy and we need to change a lot. I think change is a continuous process. Change is the only thing which is permanent. Change is the only thing which you will always face. And if you become stagnant, then you are died. So change is always needed. Every teacher will have to change. Every teacher will have to mold and moderate and acclimatize according to the changing scenario. So those teachers who are participating in this two weeks refresher course, my humble submission: try to be a teacher. Try to feel the pain. Try to empathize a student. What a student is craving for. Information is available everywhere on net. You Google out anything, you'll get, thousands and billions of pages available on internet. But what is the knowledge? How to explain that? Who will tell them what it is? It is a teacher who is going to explain in the classroom. Nobody can snatch away the job and profession of a teacher. Whatever simulation, whatever, online teaching, whatever MOOCs and whatever kind of, Swayam Prabha and all that you are creating. But you can never replace an individual teacher from the classroom. That is your platform. That is your ground. That is your battleground where you are going and handling and, treating your entire classroom as your rangamanch, your platform. So teacher has to refine himself. And that, there is a word called karati. There is a phrase called karati abhyas janmati hot sujan. I'm all the time out of my class. I'm all the time dealing with the political things. I'm all the time busy in adding something in my profile and biodata. That will not make me teacher. A teacher has to stand in the classroom. A teacher has to interact with the students 24/7. A teacher, if needed, can teach at midnight, 12 o'clock. A teacher, if needed, can teach in the early morning, 4 o'clock. A teacher can teach anytime. So it is very much important. And this is my personal concern. And I have seen these days, teachers are not getting time to spend time in the classroom. They are not getting. They are always, finding excuses. Okay, either I have to attend this meeting, or I have to go in that meeting, or I have to, I'm not prepared today and I have my own outside assignments. You are appointed a teacher for teaching a particular classroom, and those students sitting in the classroom are your foremost and prime responsibilities. And then you are compromising that responsibility because you have to go and take some lecture elsewhere, because you have to go and conduct some viva elsewhere, because you have to go and participate in some social event, and because you have to, attend some so-called social function. I think this is the time when we all need to think over that, what we are doing to higher education. In the name of, every day there is one Jayanti, and the head of the institution is having a burden that, if my auditorium is not full, it will look very odd or bad. And the head of the institution is going to compromise the class for the conduct of that particular event, or Jayanti, or Samaro, or Samaram, or anything, whatever. And, it happens almost once in a week. And once in a week, say, if you're having 60 students in the classroom, and those 60 students are, sparing 1 hour, then their 60 hours are spoiled out. And 1 hour of precious knowledge transfer is being wasted out. My dear friends, I feel very sorry when I see students are roaming around and they are not attending the class. A teacher's prime responsibility is to connect with the student. We need to have some concern for the society. If you really want to grow the nation, remain in the classroom. If you really want India to become world guru, Vishwaguru, you need to remain in the classroom. You have to connect with your student. I had the opportunity, and I find myself lucky that I got gurus who were concerned about me. I remember one of my guru, I will take his name, Buddhibali Singh. One day he came to my place at 11:30 late night to give me a book. I was not able to find out that book. I don't know how many teachers would be doing this today, but I remember my teachers. My teachers were concerned. They used to give me specimen copies to me. Alok, you would require this book, because I come from very modest background. That's why they knew, and they used to give me books. And I'm really having all gratefulness to my teachers, because of them, I'm here. I would request all teachers today that you become teachers like them, and your students become like me, and they are going to give credit to you. Teachers are like God, I tell you. You are the role model of your students. And I feel very sorry when I see that things are not happening like that. I'm sorry if I'm saying something more than that, or if somebody is getting hurt out of that. But this is my personal experience. I'm not able to control myself. That is why I'm saying and sharing all these things. Sir, I'm not going to speak much goody things or very pleasing things, but I'll speak out truth, and I'll speak out my heart, what I'm feeling from inside. People are crying for, world ranking and this and that. Okay, there is a problem, I tell you, because the world ranking is happening because of their parameters. We Indians are being taught in a different way and different form of, Guru and Shishya Parampara. We are having different kinds of. They are saying mentorship. I mean, there was mentorship even before 1994, when National Assessment and Accreditation Council was set up, or when National Board of Accreditation was set up in India. We were having better teachers than today before 1994. Once we started talking of accreditation and ranking and all these things. Do you feel that those teachers were not good? They were far better than today's teacher. So somewhere we need to think over that, how we can grow good teachers. Our ranking, our requirements are different. And if you want to make an institution in top 10 world, ranking institution, you concentrate on 5-10 institution and try to grow them and groom them as per their parameters. They'll be certainly, figuring out in top 10 and top 20 and top 50. Number is not important. Wherever you are ranking and numbering and gradation comes, I think you are going to lose somewhere the main objectives, underlying objectives of the higher education. So education is something which is taught in the classroom. It is not in the certificates. A boy who is having first class, A grade, A plus plus degree. But if he is not having the quality, he is not able to deliver, that is not having any meaning at all. My feeling is that there has to be one-to-one connect in the classroom. Maybe because of pandemic, we are in a different scenario where we are having blended mode or something like that. But my concern is that the refresher, or if you want enhancement and improvement, try to be a good teacher. A good teacher is the most valuable thing what we are missing today. And that is my message. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Chakrawal. It's really wonderful. You know, that is what required today. And all teachers need to understand, yes, we all are under pressure of, doing administrative work for rankings, for, other things like you said, organizing various programs. Of course, yes, that is also important, but the key thing is that we should be in the class. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much, Professor Alok Chakrawal. I think, sir, you have really hit the nail when you said teachers are dying and designations are rising. Nothing would be further from the truth than this. And nothing would be closer to the truth than this, because in today's scenario, there is a clamoring for all kinds of designations. And I think teachers have possibly forgotten the very essence for which they came to this profession. And I would very humbly state, sir, for that, I would also put a little tinker on the government and their agencies, because in all of the performance appraisals, I think how you have taught, whom you have taught, and the feedback of the students rarely figures. I have seen and I have heard of teachers of a great caliber, and who never bothered about any kind of designation. But well, is there a recognition, sir? I'm throwing this question open to all the augurs gathering here, because I think that is the order of the day that we must be able to see. Ladies and gentlemen, now the time has come for me to invite our esteemed chief guest, Professor Ayam Pandey, for his address to the audience. Professor Ayam Pandey is also an alumnus of University of Delhi, from where he was awarded his PhD degree, his post-graduation, and also his graduation. Currently, he is the Director General of Vivekananda Institute of Professional Studies. He has served at the most prestigious Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, as the Acting Director Dean and Chairman of the Doctoral Program, also as the Chairman of Finance and Accounting and Finance. He later served as Professor and Dean at School of Management, Asian Institute of Technology, Bangkok, Thailand. He also had his stint at the Department of Financial Studies then and Department of Finance and Business Economics now, where he was Professor and Dean of the Faculty of Commerce and Business. He has been a visiting professor at Kansas University, United States of America, University Science, Malaysia, University of Birmingham, UK, Esser, France, to name some of them. He has many books and articles which have been published in national and international journals to his credit. He has guided and mentored, I think, thousands of students, and every nook and corner you will find someone who has been his student. I am one of them. He has been on the board of directors of many organizations, not only in India, but also outside the country. He has served on many committees appointed by the Government of India. Today, on behalf of everyone present here, we welcome you, sir, for our inaugural function, and we are extremely grateful that you could spare this time for us. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Ayam Pandey to address all of us.
Thank you, Rekha. Well, I feel quite richer today after listening my senior colleagues and friend, Dr. Jawaharlal Gupta, and later on, Dr. Chakrawal. I think I don't have many things to say here because after listening to them, I don't know what I would speak. But let me pay my respect, first of all, to Professor Jawaharlal Gupta. Well, we know each other for how many years? Maybe more than 50 years, I should say. Of course, he was a teacher when I was a student in Sri Ram College. And then we became friends once I joined the Sri Ram College of Commerce. So I know him for so many years. So it's after 1.5 years, I'm seeing Professor Gupta here. He's, I'm told, sitting in Dubai. So I hope he's doing well there in Dubai. Dubai is an excellent place, except you can't get out. You have to remain confined in your rooms. Then Professor Chakrawal, if Professor Gupta has good words of praise for him, I think he must be an excellent person. And having become the Vice Chancellor of this university, Guru Ghasidas University, I think I would like to pay my respect to him also. Our evergreen friend and most active young man, Dr. Jayal Gupta, Jagdish Lal Gupta, my respect to you too. Professor Agarwal, the principal, who has been doing a wonderful job as a principal of the college. And he is the person, I think he's facilitating the knowledge. I feel a little bad that I had to join a little late, therefore I missed what Madhuvish talked, and sorry for that. But I did hear from Professor Jorilal that it was an excellent program which has been put forward for the participants of the program. I would also like to thank Rekha and Anjali. Of course, it was Anjali whom I was writing that, look, I am little occupied and will not be able to come in time. And she said, sir, you can come anytime, go to or whatever. I could make it little earlier because I was thinking maybe that I will get free at around 4:15 or 4:30. Well, Professor Jorilal Gupta has given you the background of paradigm shift, why it occurs and what does it mean. He also indicated some very critical points which I noted down. Okay. What happened? I don't know what happened. So you talked about many factors, of course, sustainability, scale. He was talking about technology and then speed and scale, etc. I was just thinking that what paradigm shift, he explained it that. But once long ago in Ayam, Ahmedabad, when I was chairman of the PhD program, we used to call it FPM those days. Now it is PhD program there also. And one of my colleagues, senior colleagues, Professor Khandwala, who was OB expert. So I requested him that, look, let's have a course in philosophy of management, because these are PhD students. And they don't know even the kind of language which a researcher should know. And he said, okay, I'll put it together. He put together a program and offered it, and we used to attend that. I think that was the great thing about Ayam Ahmedabad, that you learn from each other. Everybody would sit in each other's class actually and learn. And so he gave certain books to read. One of the books which I read and which is still with me, a copy, I got a photocopy of that book actually, because it was a library book. And that was by Thomas Kuhn. Thomas Kuhn wrote a book which was called Revolution in Natural Science. And actually, he was the one who used this concept of paradigm shift. And what Professor Gupta mentioned actually, in nutshell, that's what it means actually. It's a fundamental change. It's not this change. And therefore, he talks about two terms. He talks about revolutionary change and evolutionary change. Now, what we find in real world is that there are certain changes which are sudden and they look revolution, because they change the entire paradigm. That is what we call paradigm shift. Everything changes. Some are evolutionary. And within evolutionary, of course, you have the question of speed with which you change. Okay. But generally, we find that there is a combination of the two. There is a little bit revolution, something which has fundamentally changed, and some other changes, minor changes taking place. So we don't see them. It's only towards the end that when we reflect back and then we say that, look, it has been a fundamental change now. That is what he talks about. Now, when it comes to higher education and our university system, because all of us have that experience. Well, some of us have spent more than 50 years in this field, therefore maybe that we have more experience, but whether it is qualitatively of higher level or not, I don't know. I have seen my own university. I studied there, I taught there. For about 8-9 years, I taught, or maybe 10 years in Sri Ram College of Commerce. And then at the fag end of my life, I came there. Professor Gupta, of course, he has seen it. He was principal of Sri Ram College and for 9-10 years. And he brought a lot of changes. Even the structural changes could change the quality of education. There may not be fundamental change in education because as far as our syllabus, etc. is concerned, somebody from somewhere imposes it on the colleges actually. Maybe now there is some kind of democracy which may be taking place. And then it's the departmental system and then the college has, and they didn't have the flexibility. You cannot change, you cannot even introduce new programs. So again, Professor Gupta would have had, which he told me many times, a lot of difficulties in introducing a new program for postgraduate, which is GBO. See, so we have those kinds of structural constraints. There is a constraint of mindset, for example. There is a constraint of, let's say, inertia, organizational inertia, okay? And sometimes there are autocracies. He was talking about bureaucracy, maybe autocracy itself, you see. The person sitting on the top may be so autocratic and bureaucratic that he or she may not allow you the change. And similarly, there are structural constraints, a lot of structural constraints. When your organization becomes very big, which universities? Delhi University, for example, is a big university. Now you can't make many changes. Fortunately, after having spent 10-12 years in the university system, I went into Ayam. It was entirely new world. Absolutely democratic in terms of the courses, new courses. Within a month or even less, we could float a new course actually there. And we were experimenting. Our director, well, of course, that time, it was third director when I joined Ayam Ahmedabad. He said that, look, it's your domain. You people are the teachers. What Professor Chakrawal was telling us. And he said, look, I'm sitting here just to sign whatever you say, we will do it. But it is you, you have to own the responsibility. Therefore, we are experimenting. I learned a lot there actually and offered new courses. So that is the kind of environment which does exist. And I joined it 1980, December 1980. Now, universities, when we are talking about this paradigm shift, even before looking at the domain of knowledge, commerce is a domain of knowledge. Management is, of course, I say that commerce and management, there is artificial difference which has been created. Historically, we had commerce, but then look, commerce is a term which encompasses, but then later on it became business or management. Now in Ayam Ahmedabad, they said business is limited. Management is much broader because it's not just the business management, it is management of all kinds of organization. Cooperatives, why not? Let's say that there is a blind school near Ayam Ahmedabad. Managing that, they said therefore management. And we have a public policy center there which looks after many of those things actually, even the energy management, transport management. So they say it's a broader term. And when you say business, it will get restricted to only the profit-making enterprises, all right? So now the domain commerce is it. But before that, actually, when we talk in general about higher education, we need to think even in terms of, I think, this democratization, this bureaucratic setup, autocratic setup, the structural part also is important. So if we want to facilitate changes, you see, at the domain level, we must look into this. Now, everybody is talking about this paradigm shift worldwide, actually, in the higher education. And there have been a number of factors responsible for that. Now, even the political system of certain countries has initiated these changes, you see. Now, of course, I don't want to talk much about my country as such, Sometimes I say something which becomes controversial about my own country, but changes are taking place there. But I was in Thailand, for example, you see, and at the government level, they made the difference there. Of course, the universities are saying that still the bureaucracy is there because you have kept certain things, and therefore, but what we found in last 10 years there, that the quality in terms of research, it has improved significantly, a small country. Yesterday, I was in an interview committee for the selection of professors in management in a government-sponsored institute. And there came one candidate for professorship. He had published already 30 articles, and 21 or 20 of those articles, of course, were in C category. He had 8 or 9 articles in B category, 1 article in A category. We interviewed, we were the so-called experts, and we said that it's a good person, you can take it. The director says, I will not take him. He says, my research quality standards are much higher. He says, I want a person of great repute. Does he or she have any reputation or not? Anyway, we somehow told him that, look, we are not pushing the candidate, you will not get. And particularly in certain areas, it's very difficult to get people who have published in A category, okay? If it's computer mathematics, it's easy to get it. But if it's management courses, human resource, even finance, again, it's very difficult because it's highly competitive actually. Now, that is a kind of call. So what Thailand did is they made the difference at the government level. They improved the structures, but the structures have not been completely improved. And even the mindset of the people. Now, there was a study, we did a study actually there with one of my students actually, who is a lecturer in one of the universities, and Thai student, and he collected the data. We analyzed this data. We just selected out of some 30 universities, some 22 or so. And others were not prepared to share their documents and didn't want us to interview them. Now, what we found that in spite of government initiating it, helping them, giving them a lot of resources, they still were in the old mindset, the people sitting on the top. So government, of course, started a training program for them also, you see. Now, Professor Gupta was talking about change management, and he's an expert on that. I'm not an expert. I only hear him or some of my colleagues in Ayam, Ahmedabad, Ram Narayan, etc. I heard, I used to sit through their classes, and it's a complex process. So he is in a much better position perhaps to tell you that, look, it's not easy to introduce changes. Ego is the most important thing which comes in front of that. Okay. So besides the conceptual level of paradigm shift and intellectually agreeing with that, I think the implementation part of that becomes very, very critical. Now, in general, I will tell you that he talked about technology, and then Professor Chakraval was talking about the role of teacher, and he was saying that face-to-face. I think let's accept the reality, which Professor Gupta hinted a lot. Now it is going to be blended education now. We have to accept. Earlier, we accept much better. The entire world is going that way. Harvard has already gone into that. They would prefer offline, but then they say, look, there is no alternative. It has to be. A lot of resources are available on internet, actually. You see, some of my colleagues, even Sriram College, I find that one of our student who is a teacher there, he was showing me today, he has put up 20 of his lectures online. See? And I heard one of them, it's so clear, visible, you can see him, students can interact with him. Of course, the condition is a very good internet connection. We need to learn that. We need to learn that. I think because, of course, I have been reading a lot and trying to experiment. And now I will move into that domain. Perhaps your old TV, you can use it, what we call as interactive board. You have to spend some 2,000, 3,000 rupees, put that instrument on the top of your TV, and it's like in a classroom. At least you look as in the classroom. students can interact, they can talk to you, they can write actually, okay? Now, this Zoom also has its own whiteboard, which is a bad whiteboard, but then Microsoft, your computer has a whiteboard. If you have a pencil on that, it writes so beautifully, which of course, I have most of these instruments with me. And these days I am not teaching. By the way, you introduced me. I have also left that place now. I am retired now. I'm sitting in my home, okay, revising my book. The 12th edition has come out, and then I'm writing a book on finance and these modeling kind of a thing, which will take time. So so these are we have to learn that. So blended education is going to be this thing. The second thing which we have been seeing, and many institutions have shifted, that the shift is from the student teacher to the learner actually, okay? So what he was talking, Professor Chakrawal was talking, although he was saying face-to-face, yes, one of my colleagues, TV Rao, he writes on in this LinkedIn and Facebook, he wrote the problems and he feels that, look, he is not able to interact with the student. Eye-to-eye contact is very good. I said, you teach OB and HR, so you need perhaps. We don't need, we are emotionless people perhaps. And then I wrote to him, look, TV, this is going to be the order of the future. And you have to learn better, improve your technology. See, learn it and improve your technology. If you can do that, it is possible. Just go and see the videos of Harvard University, Wharton University. See, they are so beautifully done. So maybe that we have problem at the institutional level and there is no money. So this learner focus is going to be the one. Now start interacting. Just now again here, of course, you ask we people, so Professor Jorilal talked and I'm talking. Actually, it's interactive. It should be interactive. We don't have time to debate on number of issues actually, because these are issues which we need to debate and then agree upon towards the end. See what we mean by. So I was talking about university. I'll give you an example. I will stop after that. You are from, most of you, everybody participant, I think, is from Delhi University. Of course, the organizers are. Madhu is there. She has been in the university.
No, sir, they are from all over India.
Okay. So then, well, if I'm giving an example of one of the best universities, they can think of their universities. I came back to the department. First, they put me, Vice Chancellor asked me, I was a consultant to a company here for a short period. He met me because this son was, what is that? SK Jain, he was my student. He said, sir, can you conduct a workshop and something? So Vice Chancellor was there, Pro Vice Chancellor was there. And then they said, look, यार तुम यहाँ क्यों नहीं आ जाते, यहाँ के स्टूडेंट हो? तो मैंने कहा ठीक है, मैं आ जाता हूँ, आप चिट्ठी भिजवा दो. And he didn't have even my biodata, but he put together a committee and then he called me, भाई कुछ है ही नहीं यहाँ कागज. I wrote just 4 lines and sent to him. Anyway, so he said कि ये जो है revise कर रहे हैं course, commerce, BCom honors, the kind of politics which I witnessed there. And the women's environment, because the head of the department was sitting there and people started talking. You didn't appoint me the examiner and that kind of thing. So that's what Professor Chakrawal was talking. Look, people are looking for that. Now this Department of Finance and Department of Business Economics, when I went, I said, look, why do you have so many departments? You have FMS. FMS never wants a program to be started. Madhu is sitting here. Sri Ram College had that great difficulty. See, many of our students were professors there. I heard these stories. Even the earlier Vice Chancellor, I heard many stories. The fellow who came from JNU, because I was, I think he invited me for something. And he was talking about Commerce Department. Everybody talked to me, everyone. You see, when I met. Okay. And so I started looking. Then, of course, I became dean. They shifted me to financial. Commerce mein kuch nahi ho yaar, wahan chale jao tum. I went there. Then he said, you become dean also. I said, okay, fine. And then he said, can you help? By that time, the ministry had taken over. See. Now people were bargaining. The faculty, this course should be done, whether it is required or not. Nobody would discuss that. With great difficulty, we pushed it. To push somebody's, because politically they were strong and they wanted to push 2 courses. I called from the meeting, I called Professor Dinesh. saying, I said, आप 24 पे कह रहे हैं कि 24 कोर्सेज होने चाहिए, आपका भी लॉजिक मुझे समझ में नहीं आया, और ये कह रहे हैं 2, अगर आप वो 2 अलाउ करते हैं तो ये मेरे से एग्री हो रहे हैं, नहीं तो ये नहीं होंगे। कहते हैं यार करो ना इसको। That is how we got it. See, no discussion. So I looked at accounting costs, and in hand one, it was typed except the hand they added this new international financial accounting standard. I said, आपने अभी तक पढ़ाया ही नहीं है? कहते हैं नहीं। तो मैंने कहा आपका चेंज क्या? मैंने 50 साल पहले पढ़ा था, ये मुझे आर.एल. गुप्ता साहब ने ये पढ़ाया था, आपने ये जो ये लिखा है, ये आपने हाथ लाए, यही चेंज है क्या? कहते हैं हाँ। So that is the revolutionary change, by the way, if you see the kind of structures, etc. Anyway, I think technology, this focus on learner, then the pedagogy, interactive pedagogy, there are problem-based, project-based, case-based, and commerce people will have to learn because they are interested in lectures. They are interested in, I'm not saying everyone, please excuse me, I'm so sorry to say that, but a large number of them, and PowerPoint is the important. In many universities, in some of them in this country and outside, PowerPoint is not allowed. When you enter the classroom as a teacher, no PowerPoint. It has to be a discussion mode. It has to be. It can be 10 minutes lecture, discussions. You can have that kind of thing, but then it has to be highly participative. And onus of learning, you should create an environment where the onus of learning is on the students. So you have to motivate, you have to create that kind of environment. Then of course will come what should be done in commerce, and well, that's a very long way. I can debate that kind of a thing, whether you should have management, commerce or not. I have my opinion, which can be controversial. I will not go into that, but fundamental changes are required in commerce education. Very, very fundamental. Management is still changing, at least in these management, which are, let's say, autonomous institutions where the faculty is empowered and there is not a university, it's a director and he's democratic director. Changes are taking place very, very fast there. But commerce is moving so slowly, okay? We ourselves, the teachers, are the constraint as far as moving ahead is concerned. Thank you very much. I would wish great success to this particular program. And since Madhu is there, I think it would be a wonderful program. Once again, thank you very much, Professor Agarwal, Dr. J.L. Gupta, that is Jagdish Lal Gupta, and Rajani and Rekha and other organizers. And I'm very happy to see my friend Jawhari Lal here after 1.5 years. This is face-to-face, by the way. So this technology is face-to-face. And I also saw for a little while, Bhabiji there.
Very good, sir. Thank you very much. Wonderful experiences you shared, and it's really can do very good for commerce management. But again, the problems is our mindset, which even I started with that. So that is the key thing. But I'm sure things are, things will change, and the new policy will also bring some change in the system. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much, Professor Ayam Pandey, sir. Your address was really an eye-opener. And I think each one of us has to introspect and look into ourselves and realize, and also make sure that the kind of slow growth that you have pointed out, which is very true, that the commerce education or the commerce in general, the growth has been and the movement has been very slow, and we have to really push it if we have to keep pace with the changing technology, changing times, and focus will have to be on learning and the learner. Thank you so much for at least highlighting the importance of change in the mindset, the structures, and of course, how the autocracies and the bureaucracies must not play a divisive kind of a role in terms of imparting education and knowledge. Thank you once again, sir, for being with us today.
Thanks a lot.
Now I would request Dr. Anjali Gupta, Associate Professor, Atmaram Sanatan Dharm College, to propose a vote of thanks. Dr. Anjali Gupta is our backbone. What would we do without you, Anjali? Not only she is an efficient worker, but she's a great team leader who inspires and motivates her team in a very congenial manner, creating space for each one of them to work. She is not only an academic scholar, but also a great organizer with not just these programs, but also many other programs that she conducts at ARSD College and other places. We are extremely happy to have Anjali on board with us as our, I will again reiterate, as our backbone of the program. Over to you, Anjali, for the vote of thanks. And thank you for being what you are.
Thank you, ma'am, for your kind words. It's always encouraging, ma'am, to hear such words from you and really inspires me to even work harder next time. Honorable Professor Ayam Pandey, sir, respected Professor Johari Lal Gupta, sir, respected Professor Alok Chakrawal, sir, our beloved Professor S.P. Agarwal, sir, our very dear Dr. J. Gupta, sir, Dr. Rekha Dayal, ma'am, Professor Madhu Vish, ma'am, our valued participants. I feel honored and privileged to have been given the opportunity to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. Once a great man whispered that essence of all beautiful endeavors is gratitude. On this note, today I, Dr. Anjali Gupta, on behalf of Teaching Learning Center, Ramanujan College and Indian Accounting Association NCR chapter, and on my own behalf, put before you all my gratitude into words and extend a heartiest vote of thanks to all the dignitaries for gracing the inaugural session of the 2 weeks interdisciplinary national refresher course on new paradigms in commerce and management, organized under the aegis of Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya, National Mission on Teachers and Teaching, Ministry of Education. First, I would like to express our sincere thanks and deep sense of appreciation to Professor Aia Pandey, sir, who is our mentor and guide. Sir, in his address, shared with us the true meaning and essence of the word paradigm. Structural constraints, autocracy, functional constraint act as barrier in the introduction of changes and innovative ideas in the higher education institutions at the domain level, as shared by Sir in his address. Thank you, sir, for sharing your experiences from countries other than India too, which are facing problems when they are talking about the paradigm shift, which is not acceptable even globally. On a personal note, we as his student are always amazed by the way in which Sir keeps himself up to date with the new technology and instruments. Whenever Sir is sharing his ideas with the PhD students in any dialogue, Sir, we all remember that you always share some new breakthrough in the technology that is there, and we try to look for that technology outside, Sir, when we are away from your lectures. We are really thankful to you, sir, for sharing these new breakthroughs and encouraging us to be on our toes, always searching for new research and technology areas as your students, sir. We are grateful to Professor Johari Lal Gupta, sir, for his thought-provoking address. Sir, in his address, pointed out the nature of work, especially after the pandemic time. Sir, your respected views truly relate to the kind of situations being faced by all working people in different sectors of the economy. I, as a teacher, really endorse your view that technological innovation happening at the extremely fast pace. The suggestions given by Sir in his conversation through live examples are worth noting. In his deliberation, Sir enlisted all possible solutions like sustainability, cultivating talents, learning new technology, collaboration technology, which must come out of books now and become ground reality for the benefit of us all. Thank you, sir. We express our gratitude to Professor Alok Chakrawal, sir, for giving a thought-provoking address. Sir truly said that teacher has to acclimatize to the changes. Teachership is something that has to be revived as suggested by Sir. In the times of digitalization and online teaching, we as teachers must think and work on how to develop ourselves as persons which are always having something extra for our students. Sir, we should give credit to our teachers for all what we are today. In his discussion, Sir pointed out that we have to look into the fact that mentorship, care, and imparting knowledge must never be compromised by the institutions or teachers in this race of recognition through grades and ranking. Thank you, sir, for a wonderful oration, both as a teacher and as an administrator. I would like to place on record our heartiest thanks to Professor S.P. Agarwal, sir, who is a dynamic administrator, excellent teacher, and a great friend. Sir gives his immense support, which enhances the importance of all the actions undertaken by us. I use this platform to thank him for always encouraging us to use new platforms and means to impart learning among learners and teachers. Sir, we are grateful to you for sharing about endeavors in Ramanujan College. New initiatives and innovation is the buzzword in the college under your respected leadership. I would like to acknowledge our gratitude to Dr. J.L. Gupta, sir, who is one of the guiding forces behind this program. His enormous 24/7 hard work and words of wisdom encourages us to work meticulously with zeal towards achievement of the target set for all of us as a team. We thank you, sir, for describing in a crux way the entire spirit behind this refresher course. We would like to express sincere thanks to Professor Madhuvij and Dr. Rekha Dayal for their tireless efforts towards bringing this program on this platform today. Their sweet words, pleasant smile, and presence always makes our day. We can always look up to them for covering up for any mistake or errors that we make. I thank Professor Madhuvij ma'am for pointing out that this course is transdisciplinary in her address. Ma'am, in her discourse, gave a preview of the essence of this refresher course. Rekha ma'am has always been liberal in her praises for all of us. For this, I thank both of them for always being there for us. A very special thanks goes to our staff members from Ramanujan College, Dr. Rajiv Nayan, Dr. Anshika Agarwal, and Dr. Nikhil Rajput, along with Dr. Ashish for their unconditional support. A very special appreciation to all members from Indian Accounting Association NCR chapter, Dr. Abha Vadva ma'am, Dr. Purushottam Kumar Arya, Ms. Priyanka Marwa, Ms. Saloni, and Mr. Amir for being there for us. The tireless effort of the technical and administrative staff from TLC Ramanujan College, comprising of Mr. Akhil, Mr. Prashant, and Mr. Ravinder Pant, 24/7, have made the things go in the right direction for the program. We thank them also. Finally, I would like to thank all the participants who have registered for this program, not only from Delhi, but from other parts of the country. We thank you all for showing trust in us, and we thank you for all the patience and cooperation. Thank you once again to all the dignitaries. With this, we come to the end and conclusion of this inaugural session. Have a nice day to all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Anjali.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to request all the participants that now the lecture is going to be available on the MOOCs platform, and I request all of them that I think most of them have registered. The details relating to the registration are available with you on your email. The same has to be, I want that all the participants are requested to register at the MOOC platform. Then only you will be able to access the videos. The process which has to be followed or the steps which have to be taken are being shared by you on the Telegram group as well as on email in the mail that has been sent to you. Thank you once again and have a very happy and nice learning. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Anjali. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Very good.
Thank you, sir. बड़े भाई, thank you.
Thank you,
Very well done.
नमस्कार, नमस्कार.
Okay,
और आपको बहुत
yes.
बहुत बधाई. एक नया मेहमान आया घर पे, छोटा मेहमान.
अब तो आप या